I'm just getting ready here. This is a very impromptu, ad hoc, non-planned live cooking demonstration that we're going to do today of tteokguk, which is a traditional Korean dish that we eat for Lunar New Year's. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. But yeah, okay, cool. All right, so okay. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of pull, hey, Elliot, I'm gonna pull my ingredients together. Like I said, this is a very impromptu live. Normally when I do lives, I schedule them very long in advance. I have everything planned out. As many of you could tell from this morning's posts on my community page, this was not the plan for today. I was going to do a classic Joanne video on how to make tteokguk or tteokmanduguk, which is a traditional Korean Lunar New Year's dish. I don't know if some of you heard, but there was a very tragic mass shooting last night in Monterey Park, which is an area very close to where I live. It is a predominantly Asian American community, and it looks like, actually, you know what? I'm not going to spread any speculation as yet as to what the cause of this was. Suffice it to say, it was during a Lunar New Year's celebration. And therefore, I thought instead of doing my normal content today, let's do a live cooking demonstration while raising money for the AAJC, a nonprofit organization that serves the AAPI community. Lunar New Year's is largely celebrated by the Asian community, so I think that's appropriate. So let's get cooking. Again, my apologies if some of this is a little haphazard and I'm pulling things out of my pantry as we go. I'm, like I said, not exactly planned here for this, but we're going to be making tteokguk. Now, tteokguk is rice cake soup. We're also going to add dumplings to this version. So it's, rice cake and dumpling soup, or tteokmanduguk, is a very popular dish, but particularly on New Year's. Now, what is the tteok of the tteokguk? So tteok stands for rice cake, okay? That's what it means. I'm going to try and show you. So you got here, this is rice cake. I bought this from the Korean grocery store. Hey, everyone. Hey, from Croatia. 새해 복 많이 받으세요. Yay, thank you. Hello from Las Vegas. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Poppy. So this is tteokguk. This is a rice cake, and you can see through the bag that they're shaped in disc shape. So these are not like the tubes that you see for tteokbokki. This is a disc shape. And I bought this from the Korean grocery store yesterday because it's always best to get it like this in this kind of bag as opposed to the frozen kind. This means that this was made at a local bakery, probably very freshly. So this is what you want to get when you're making tteokguk. Hopefully, if you guys really want to make tteokguk today for Lunar New Year's, you can go to your Korean grocery store and still find something like this. But if you can't find it like in this kind of bag from a local bakery, then you can always buy it frozen. It'll still taste really, really good. Now, why am I talking about this tteok so early on? Well, let's actually, open this, right? Let's open this. And I want to show you, this is what it looks like, okay? And this is kind of the texture. It's like a little bit bendy, okay, like this. And what these rice cakes, and sorry, my camera is having trouble focusing here. There we go. Okay. So what these rice cakes represent, this is supposed to represent the purity of the new year. Okay. There are no blemishes in the new year yet. Today is day one of the Lunar New Year. And that's what these white rice cakes are designed to represent. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick these in a bowl. Here we go. Happy Lunar New Year. Hello from India. Hi from Canada. Korean food is my favorite. My neighbor, oh, well, you're very lucky, Foster the Imposter. I'm just going to stick maybe 2 good handfuls of this into my bowl here. There we go. And what we're going to do here is we are going to add a little bit of sesame oil to our rice cakes. Maybe just about tablespoon. Oops, this is brand new sesame oil. I haven't opened it yet. Here we go. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of sesame oil to our rice cakes. Not even a tablespoon. We're looking at more of like a teaspoon. What that's going to do is it's going to allow the rice cakes to get really nice and soft and super flavorful. The other thing we're going to add, let's see. I don't have it with me right now, so I'm not going to go away from you guys because I can't find it. But I would typically add some cracked black pepper to that as well. But let's just get this nice and soaking. And oh my God, it already smells so aromatic. I don't know if you have used sesame oil in your cooking. Little goes a long way. We only use like not even a teaspoon to soak our rice cakes in, and my whole kitchen instantly smells so flavorful and delicious. So now that we've got that, let's set that aside here. And let's get prepped with some of the veggies that are going to go. Oh, look at that. My sous chef, i.e. my husband, brought me some cracked black pepper. So let's add that here. Okay. All right, so we've got some cracked black pepper. And guys, I apologize in advance for like sort of the cloudy view, the top-down view. I'm not sure how I can fix that at this point, but it is what it is. And you can see these rice cakes are getting already nice and soft. Hello from Jin. Happy Lunar New Year. Happy Year of the Rabbit Diamond Empire. Nate, I'm so glad you love the podcast. Jen, I hope you accomplish your Lunar New Year's goals. I hope everybody does, okay? All right, so we've got this. We're going to set that aside. And now we're going to start prepping some of our other aromatics. Let me grab a knife here. Okay, so I've got here my knife. And let's see, what are we going to prep first? I got here an onion. And this is a yellow onion, as you can sort of see. Hopefully, maybe you can see better here. You can sort of see here, like it's a yellow onion. Let me see if I can get this in focus. There we go. And what you want to do is, typically I use lots of red onion in my cooking because I like the color, I think, and I also like the zip. But for a traditional Korean tteokguk recipe, you do want to veer on using more light colored vegetables. And so I would use a yellow onion or even a white onion. I couldn't find white onions at my farmer's market this morning. And the reason for that, again, is in line with the white rice cakes. This soup is supposed to represent purity of the new year. And so we're trying to keep everything light colored so that when you kind of serve that beautiful bowl of soup at the end of cooking this, you're just so amazed at sort of the dazzling whiteness of the broth and of the rice cakes. It was supposed to comfort you, to make you feel like, oh, this is so comforting. But also the Lunar New Year is starting. I haven't made any mistakes yet. I haven't any regrets yet. I've got this blank slate for me to start that new year. Okay, so that's why I'm using this yellow onion. Now, if you don't have a yellow or white onion, all you have is a red onion, I'm not here to tell you you can't use it. You can use whatever onion or whatever aromatic you have. If all you have is shallots or leeks, that's great too. Do what makes you feel like this is going to be a hearty and delicious one. I'm just going to stick with the yellow onion right now. Okay, I love your content. Oh, Blue Bella, that makes me so happy. Okay, let's get this cut here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this into like a julienne, which is I'm just going to chop it into thin slivers. Nothing really fancy here. I really just want to add a little bit of flavor to my soup. So see what's going on. I'm cooking along with you. I bought the ingredients and I have been meaning to. Oh, well, I'm so excited. I can't wait. If you have any questions, try and pipe up and I will try and keep up along with your questions. You're so inspiring. Well, I think everybody can be inspiring in their own way. And I think that's one of the amazing things about the YouTube community. Okay, so we're just going to give this a chop here. Okay, how easy is that? We've got some beautiful onions chopped here. Let me get a little bowl to put this in. All right. Okay, got a bowl of just chopped onions. Also going to chop up some potato. Now, potato is not a traditional recipe ingredient for tteokguk, but I'm adding it for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I love potato and I will basically eat potato in any shape or form. So I'm always looking for excuses to add a potato to a recipe. And I think in particular, this one is great for a couple of other reasons, not just because I love it. Number one, it is, or number two, it is a light colored vegetable. I'm using here Yukon Gold potatoes. You can use a plain waxy potato. I think Yukon Gold works well because of the color. I also think that the waxiness is great because that means it won't get too mushy in the soup making process. It'll hold its shape pretty well. And then I think the third reason that I'm adding potato to this broth is, as you know, I'm plant-based, so I don't use meat or other animal products in order to fatten that broth to make it really rich. Potato is so wonderful because not only will it add a little bit of thickening to your broth, it'll also add a dimension of great flavor, which is why I'm actually going to keep the peel on my potato. I've given these a very, very good scrub, so you don't need to worry. And I'm going to keep the peel on because that's where all the flavor and also the nutrients reside. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to julienne these up just like we did the onions. And I will show you the what I call the Korean ajumma way of julienning vegetables. Okay, Korean ajumma means like Korean old lady, not like old lady like grandma or anything like that, but like a woman who is a little bit older, has maybe children. And what we're going to do is we're just going to slice these up into discs, just like this. Okay. Oh, look at that gorgeous yellow color that we get as soon as we cut into this. Okay. I'm going to do this and I'm going to put something here okay, let's make sure that that stays focused. Okay. All right, let's see. Come on, focus here, camera. Sorry about that, guys. This camera is a little bit slow in getting focused. So you can see what I've done is I've created sort of like a layout of beautiful discs of the potato. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run my knife through this. I'm going to create matchsticks. Look at that. How fun is that? So easy, right? And that is it. Let's stick these into our bowl. I'll do that one more time with this other potato so you can see how easy it is to make these matchsticks or julienne potatoes, as some other people call it, right? So I'm going to take this potato again. I've washed it. So I'm going to keep the peel on. Of course, if you want, to peel your potato, you can go for it. Okay. But I'm just going to keep it on. It's a little bit easier. And like I said, I like the flavor. I'm just going to thinly slice these into chips. There we go. And I'm just going to spread it out like a deck of cards, when the magician goes, pick a card, any card, pick a potato, any potato. That's what we're doing here. Okay, there we go. Okay, and do that. And now I am just going to, once again, just chop the. Look at that. We've got beautiful, like you can make pommes frites this way, right? This really skinny fries. So pretty. I'm just going to put this here. My mom would be very proud of my chopping skills right now. That's a really nice knife. I agree with you. This is one of my favorite knives. I'm not sure I can add it to the shopping thing at this point. Maybe it's too late, but if I can go back and edit, I will add a link to this knife. But you can see it's a Zwilling Gourmet knife. It's the 6.5 inch. I love this knife. This is a wonderful knife. You guys will see it in almost all of my videos because it just, you know what, I take very good care of it. I don't ever stick it in the dishwasher. And, you know, I wash it as soon as I'm done cooking. I dry it, I put it back in my knife rack, and I get it sharpened professionally. And that is what keeps my knife really, really nice and sharp. The thing is, you don't always need to buy an expensive knife. You can get, you know, $15 knife, but if you take really good care of it, you know, don't stick it in the dishwasher, don't just leave it lying around in your sink for hours. You know, if you take good care of it and you get it professionally sharpened, it'll act like a professional chef's knife. But this one is a little bit on the pricier side, but I've used it for years now, and I do love this knife. Okay, this is not meant to be a Zwilling commercial. This is a fundraiser for the AAJC. Let's talk a little bit about that. Why am I doing a fundraiser on Lunar New Year's? So for those of you who didn't see, there was a tragic mass shooting that occurred late last night at a Lunar New Year celebration. I'm sorry, my dad has been calling me like 10 times. It was a tragic mass shooting in the Lunar New Year celebration here in Monterey Park. I say here loosely, it was SoCal area. 10 people were killed as a result of that shooting. Multiple people were injured. It is hard, I think, as a community to wake up thinking, hey, I'm going to make tteokguk. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to make some songpyeon, which is a Korean rice cake dish, a dessert. I'm going to make some dumplings. I'm going to watch some K-dramas and really enjoy my Lunar New Year's, and then find out that unfortunately, there is a very large part of my community, the AAPI community, that is grieving, that is hurt right now because of the loss that they sustained at a Lunar New Year's celebration in a community that's predominantly Asian American. I don't want to get into politics here. This is a cooking show. I will say that there is as yet no evidence that this was a hate crime or that Asian Americans were specifically targeted as a result of this. But I don't think that really matters. I think that what matters is the AAPI community is hurting right now. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate Lunar New Year's in light of these events by doing a cooking demonstration, showing you what I would eat for Lunar New Year's, while also raising money for a nonprofit organization, AAJC, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, that serves the AAPI community today. So if you are so inclined, please feel free to donate whatever you can. But otherwise, let's follow along and keep cooking this amazing tteokguk, okay? So we've got most of our veggies prepped here. The only other thing that I'm gonna add is some scallions. I know very few Korean dishes, savory Korean dishes, that don't involve scallions. And this is, you know, not one of them, okay? So we're just gonna chop off the tips here. I'm gonna throw that into my garbage bowl. And we are just going to run my knife through these pretty quickly. Okay, let's actually make sure we kind of peel off the ends here, make sure they're nice and clean. And we're just gonna chop these up. So for those of you who are following along, hopefully this recipe is easy enough where if I'm moving a little bit too quickly for you, you can catch up when it's time to make the soup. All right, I love the sight of chopped up scallions. I don't know about you, but you know, when I was little, I hated green onions. Like I would like spend at least 5 minutes at the beginning of every meal, like picking out all of the green onions and sticking them on like, you know, the side. And my grandmother would be like, 아이고, 어서 먹어, 그냥 먹어, which means just eat it, you know? And like, no, 할머니, 나 이거 싫어. I don't like green onions. But now, like for some reason, as an adult, I love green onions. Like I can't get over the flavor of it. So I'm just going to get another bowl here for my green onions. Let's get these in here. What a wonderful way to use your well. Thank you very much, Ellen. You know, like here's the thing, you know, for people who are wondering, I woke up this morning and I read the headlines about what happened in Monterey Park, 10 people being killed during a Lunar New Year celebration. And I just didn't know how to feel. And a lot of times that's a problem. We get emotional about anything, whether it's, you know, a tragic mass shooting, you know, or somebody personal in your life that you've lost, or somebody getting sick. It could be a breakup with a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or whomever. It could be a bad grade at school. It could be bad news from your job. I know that there are a lot of people who've been losing their jobs in the past 6 months. I mean, there are all sorts of things that happen in life that you have no control over, and that makes you feel really sad, makes you feel angry, makes you feel hopeless, and it makes you feel, you know, despair. And the problem is, we don't necessarily learn from our parents or from our teachers or from really anyone else. What do we do with all those feelings? They're just stuck inside of here, or even sometimes inside of here, and we don't know what to do with them. And so then they come out in sort of these weird and sometimes very hurtful ways, oftentimes in ways that actually hurt nobody other than ourselves. So a lot of times when I feel that way, when I feel that feeling inside of me where I'm confused and kind of discombobulated and I don't really know where to go, I always ask myself, well, is there something that I can do that isn't going to hurt anybody around me, that isn't going to be victimizing either myself or somebody else who's also maybe hurting from this? And I think about, like, well, what can I do? What can I do to make things a little bit better and easier? And I often find that when I do things like cooking, for sure, or when I do things about raising awareness about the issues, or maybe even an organization that does a lot of good, that helps me personally to start to heal a little bit from whatever it is that's upsetting me, right? And it also makes it feel like, okay, I'm channeling some of these bad feelings in a good way. And I think that's really important. So I'm actually very grateful that I even have that I can do this, because otherwise I would be struggling right now trying to figure out, what else can I do here? I don't know what else to do. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to make tteokguk, okay? Okay, so we're making, oh, well, thank you so much, Chrissy. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Autumn. You guys are amazing for joining from wherever you're joining from today. So we've got green onions. Let's kind of display all the things that we have gotten prepped here. Okay. Wow. Okay. So not enough space, I guess. Let's see. We started with these beautiful onions here that we julienned. We then also made some matchsticks of some potato here. Okay. Now we've also got some chopped up green onions or scallions that we're going to use at the very end. And of course, the star ingredient, we have these rice cakes that have been sitting and soaking in some sesame oil and some black pepper to get it really nice and tender for our tteokguk. So this is tteok for our tteokguk. Tteokguk literally translates into rice cake soup. Tteok, right? Rice cake. And then guk means soup. So let's talk about the soup component of our rice cake soup, now that we've sort of prepped all of the ingredients that are going to go into our rice cake soup. So this right here is what I have left over of my vegetable broth. This is a recipe that you can find in my cookbook. For those of you who don't have my cookbook, okay, babe. Sorry, guys. We just need to make sure that okay, sorry. We went offline for a second. So for those of you who don't have my cookbook, it's called the Korean Vegan Cookbook. It's fine, but every 15 minutes. It's called the Korean Vegan Cookbook. And this is the vegetable broth recipe. I love this vegetable broth. I developed this recipe with my mother and my two aunts. All of the women in my family kind of huddled over the pot and we were like, let's add this, let's add this. How about this? And we made this beautiful vegetable broth. If you do not have your own homemade vegetable broth, you can use water. That's what my dad would use. And you can also use just your store-bought vegetable broth. I will caution you on the latter, the store-bought vegetable broth. I don't know about you, but a lot of times the vegetable broth that I pick up at the grocery store, it tends to be, kind of brightly colored yellow or a dark brown. As we talked about at the very beginning of this live cooking demonstration, the point of this soup is to represent the purity of the new year. So at least traditionally in the Korean house, you're looking for a clear or white colored broth. And so if you use an overly colored broth, like a dark, deep yellow or a dark, dark brown, you may have trouble achieving that color, which is totally fine if that is the flavor that you prefer. But if you want to achieve that sort of color, then maybe using water instead of using a store-bought broth that has a dark color. Or like I said, this is a radish-based broth. That means that this broth was largely composed of radish peels, and that's why we have sort of this kind of lighter color. Hopefully that makes sense. Good night, Yokshi, Chicago. Oh, wow. Is it nighttime in Chicago? Thanks for the cookbook. It's wonderful. I'm so glad you like it. All right, let's, I think now that we're done talking about the broth, babe, do you think you could get my stovetop? Babe is my sous chef for the day. I think we're pretty much done here in terms of prepping our ingredients. So we're now going to move on to actually cooking this soup. So let me get my cutting board out of the way. I'm going to wipe down my surface here. Thank you very much. And we've got that. Let's see here. And this is a very easy soup to make once you have finished prepping all of your stuff. Okay. Sorry, I'm still here, guys. Never fear. I'm just getting a pot. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, I am using a Dutch oven. This is a Le Creuset that I did add to the shopping section. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm not sure, but hopefully you can. This is what I prefer to use when I'm making a very large soup. A lot of times in Korean cooking, when you see them making a jjigae, you'll see the earthen stone pot. Babe, do you think you can get one of my tteokgukis just so I can show people the earthen Korean pots? Okay. Yeah, there we go. So a lot of times when you see, Korean stews and soups, you're going to see it in this sort of earthenware pot. That's not really great for this particular dish. This, babe, this I think is better because you do want a much larger setting for this soup. And if you use a tteokguk, most of the times they're pretty small. What's going to end up happening is all your rice cakes are going to get overly soft and they're going to get all stuck together and it's going to look like a congealed mess. Sometimes people like the congealed mess, like I kind of like it, but for that first bowl, I do want people to actually see the rice cakes. And that's very hard to do when you're using a small pot. So that's why I'm using a big pot here, okay? So let's turn this on. Okay, and I'm gonna turn it on to like a medium low heat. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of sesame oil, maybe about half a tablespoon of sesame oil there. And I'm also going to use a little bit of olive oil. Okay. Sorry, guys. Hopefully you guys can see. There we go. Olive oil. Use olive oil and sesame oil. And the reason for that is because sesame oil has a low burn point. That means it burns at a lower temperature. We're using the olive oil to help offset that low burn point and make sure that the sesame oil doesn't burn, okay? So we've got that, and now we're just gonna add our onion, all right? Just did that here. And get those nice and sweaty, as they like to say, okay? Let's see if you guys can see. Oh, you guys can't see. Guess that the top-down camera is dead. I don't know how to turn it back on, so you're just gonna have to deal with views from the front. Let's see. Okay, so we've got that. And then let me see if I can figure out how to turn the top-down camera back on so you guys can see what's happening here. Okay. There we go. Okay, look at how beautiful that looks. So we've got our onions nice and sweaty. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt to this now to encourage my onions to continue sweating. Okay, just like that. Oh my goodness, it smells so good in here. Now, if you want, you can also add some minced up garlic at this point. I'm not adding garlic because I want to kind of keep these flavors fairly straightforward, and I don't want people to be distracted by the garlic. But of course, if you love garlic, I normally love garlic, you can go ahead and add some minced up garlic. Hi, everyone. Top Down Camera Lives. It's an Ellen White miracle plant top. That's so hilarious. Okay, so we've got our onions nice and sweaty here. Okay. To this now, I'm going to add my potatoes. Well, the Inconsistent Park, thank you so much for asking. The donation is for AAJC. It is a nonprofit organization that serves the AAPI community. I thought it might be nice to turn this live into a fundraiser in light of the tragic events of last night. There was a shooting in Monterey Park at a Lunar New Year celebration that ended up killing 10 people and injuring many, many others. Obviously, the AAPI community is feeling some kind of way about it. And I'm personally feeling some kind of way about it. Obviously, it's not the way that we expected to be celebrating Lunar New Year's, is simultaneously mourning the loss of 10 people in our community. But I figured that a really good way to channel some of that was to do a cooking demonstration of one of my favorite things to eat on Lunar New Year's while raising money for a great nonprofit that has served our community for many years. Okay, so we've got this going. I don't know if you guys can see this, but you see that brown bit over here? That is when you know it's time to add the broth. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to add our broth now, or your water. If you don't have broth, that's fine. We're just going to add that now. Oh my God, it smells so good. It smells so good. And now, hopefully, this will start focusing soon. Okay, it doesn't want to focus. Sorry, guys. This top-down camera, remind me never to use it again. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go like this, and we're going to scrape up the bottom bits with the hope that we can grab all that flavor. All right. Could you pan out a view a little on the top-down camera so that we can see? Unfortunately, I cannot. My camera, the lens is like not a, what's it called? A zoom lens. So it just kind of is what it is. So I apologize about that, guys. I will use my iPhone next time, which I think would just be better. So here's that soup. And you can see, hey, Joanne, I thought it was supposed to be a light colored soup, right? Like, that was the point, is to make this about Lunar New Year's and the purity of the new year. But right now it's looking kind of brown. Well, don't you worry. We will get there. So while this is sort of getting to a boil, I'm actually going to add a little bit of water because I don't think that this is enough broth. Let's do that. Add a little bit of water. Okay. This is a trick that I like to use. If you run out of broth, but you still want some of that brothy flavor, just add a little bit of water to the container that you had your broth in, even if it's store-bought, and just add it like that. There we go. Beautiful. I'm going to turn my heat up now to make sure that we bring this to a boil. And then now I'm just going to add my rice cakes. Okay. There we go. And now we're just going to wait for this to come to a boil and for our rice cakes to get nice and soft. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Where's the lid to this? Okay. Let's see. The taste is what's important. If it's delicious, it doesn't have to look perfect. I completely agree with you, Autumn. Rice cakes are ready. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could add it at the very end, but mine weren't already soft, if you will. They came sort of hard. I bought them at the grocery store yesterday, and they've been sitting in the fridge all night long. So really depends. If you have super fresh rice cakes, then I would, as Inconsistent Park suggests, add it at the very end because you don't want them to get like super soft. If you have frozen ones, you want to sort of adjust for that and make sure that they have plenty of time to get soft in your broth. This is my first time being on your live. I'm so sad after hearing about the accident. I wish the victims are in peace wherever they are. Well, thank you so much, Samiran. I hope I'm pronouncing that even marginally correctly. Unfortunately, it was not an accident. It was deliberate. Apparently, it appears that a shooter who was involved in possibly a domestic violence incident channeled his rage at an event at Monterey Park, a Lunar New Year's celebration, and opened fire and ended up killing many people. So that's why we're doing this event today, or why I'm holding this fundraiser for AAJC, which is a nonprofit organization that serves the AAPI community, in light of the fact that today is Lunar New Year's, and it's supposed to be a day of celebration instead of mourning. So again, just waiting for this to get nice and hot. Actually, babe, do you think you could get another canister? Because I think that it's like not getting hot. All right. Can you say the name of the dish once again, please? Yes. So there are two ways to really say this dish. The traditional New Year's dish is tteokguk. Okay. So you can see lots of different spellings of it, but it's essentially like Tteok, tteok, which means rice cake, and guk, which means soup. Tteokguk. Now we're going to be adding dumplings to this soup as well. So that makes it tteok mandu. Mandu means dumpling, guk. So rice cake and dumpling soup. Tteok mandu guk. So a lot of times when you go to a restaurant, you're not going to see tteokguk very much because this is a very plain, straightforward dish. But a lot of times you'll see tteok mandu guk because it'll have that added fanciness of mandu, which is the dumpling. Tteok mandu guk is a very popular dish, even at a Korean restaurant. Like if you're Korean, you're like, oh, I have tteokguk all the time. But tteok mandu guk, that definitely elevates it and makes it a lot more fancy. Thanks, babe.
This was under the table.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I've never had it, but it looks good from the ingredients. Love your videos. Aw, thank you so much. Okay, so looks like I'm kind of dying from firepower here, which is why it's taking forever for everything to get nice and hot. So I'm just going to add a little bit of gas here. Okay, there we go. Nice and hot. So hopefully this will get super nice and hot pretty quickly, and we can then eat some tteok mandu guk. Okay, I was hoping to learn rice cakes. I do not know how to make rice cakes from scratch. It's kind of like mochi. I don't know if any of you have watched those YouTube videos of like traditional mochi making in Japan, where they're like, you see the people like, pounding the rice flour and like takes forever. There are certainly shortcuts for making tteok or rice cakes, but generally speaking, it can be a labor-intensive process, and it's not one that I've undertaken. I will probably be doing a video at some point where I'm learning how to make kare tteok. So this is, the shorthand name for this is just tteok, but I think, technically it's called kare tteok, and it is a steamed rice cake. Mochi, yes. Rice cakes are bloating. Okay. What easy rice dish should I make? I don't know. I haven't made rice cakes, but I assume kind of similar to mochi, but with flour rather than glutinous rice flour. I think it is with a certain kind of rice flour for sure. I was actually thinking of buying some rice flour from the, the grocery store yesterday, but it does require a specific kind of rice flour that is normally housed in the freezer section, because the frozen rice flour is much fresher than if you get like powdered rice flour like mochiko. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to get into it right now. It's like very complicated situation. named by Cat Mochi because I love the Japanese dessert so much. Well, that's so funny. Okay, so we're getting kind of close to go time here. You can see the rice cakes are really nice and soft. All right. Look at that. Okay, let me see if you guys can see here. See that? Rice cakes are really nice and soft here. Okay. Now to this, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt right now because really there's not much flavor that we've added beyond the onions and the potato and a little bit of that sesame oil. So I'm going to add 2 very healthy pinches of salt. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to give this a little taste because I think we're almost done here. Oh, so delicious. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So good. Okay. Oh, that is really, really good. Now, as you can probably see, there's a little bit of these like white kind of bubbles that are forming. I'm just going to take like a spoon here, little spoon, and I'm just going to skim that off the top. Okay. There we go. Look at that. Now, because we worked to julienne and really thinly cut up our vegetables, that's why you don't need to spend a lot of time boiling this water or your broth to cook those vegetables because they're really thinly sliced. Okay. There we go. So hopefully you guys can see just how beautiful. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Oh, well, computer doesn't want to focus. Okay, so I think we're done here. And I'm going to show you how I would then prepare a bowl of this soup. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me get a nice big bowl. Actually, babe, can you get one of those nice porcelain bowls from the studio or from the side table? Let's see if we can see this now. I'm going to focus this for you guys because you really want to see this. There we go. Okay. I don't know. Let's see here. There we go. There we go. Well, it just doesn't want to focus, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. Okay. Let's see if we can focus on this. Okay, there we go. You guys can see that, right? So we've got here just like a nice big bowl. Let's see if it'll focus on my hand. There we go. And we're just going to add a bunch of the soup here. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay, it doesn't want to focus on it. I'm sorry, guys. This was sort of an impromptu last-minute live cooking demonstration that I did not obviously plan very well. And my top-down camera is just very, very slow, and it doesn't want to focus. So I'm going to try again to see if I can make this so that you can see what I'm putting into my beautiful bowl here. It kind of sucks if you can't see it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add now, just for garnish, I'm going to add some green onions, just a little bit, okay? And then to this, I'm also going to add some toasted sesame seeds. Oh, that's a lot of toasted sesame seed. Okay, let's do that. Let's see if I can show you guys now. There we go. It's also very dark. Let me see if I can change this so that you guys can see properly. Okay. There we go. Okay. There we go. You can see it's very pretty, light colored soup here. Look at that. Okay. And then, oh, you know what I forgot to add? I forgot to add these dumplings. So what you would do at the very last minute is you would add the dumplings to your broth, cook them for like maybe a minute because it shouldn't take very long for your dumplings to cook. So I'm just going to dump these into my pot right now, actually, and let that kind of cook for a little bit. And then maybe we can add some last minute to our soup here. And then here's what I have. I have a little bit of Just Egg folded. You guys know I love Just Egg. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just cut some slivers, just like this, into very thin slivers, just like this, into my soup, like that. Let's turn this around here, like this. Okay. Got a beautiful looking broth. And I'm, again, just cutting up a little bit of Just Egg to place, right like that. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. Sorry that your view is like seeing all of the things in my camera. Again, I'm never using this camera for a live ever again. Okay, guys, sorry about that. And then last but not least, we are going to add some of this, which is just some nori. And I'm actually going to cut a little bit of this sheet off here. Okay. And we're just going to, again, just like we did with the Just Egg, I'm just going to cut a little bit here, a little bit there, to add some nori. Okay, look at that. All right. And then what? Oh, yeah. And our dumplings have been cooking in my soup for the last minute and they're already cooked. So let's add just a couple of dumplings. Look at that. And guys, I just used regular old frozen dumplings that I got from my Korean grocery store. Luckily, a lot of Korean grocery stores, they make already vegan dumplings and they're way better. Let me just say they're way better than the vegan dumplings that are like vegan dumplings that you get at a regular grocery store. The ones that are already, it's just like regularly vegan because they're made out of vegetable proteins and tofu at your Korean grocery store. This is what I grew up eating. My mom would make this for me growing up. That is like a lot better. So I hopefully you guys can see now, this is the final product. Let me see if I can get rid of the viewfinder crap so you guys can see it without the distraction. Hold on here. There we go. That's a little bit better. That is Tteokguk. So you can see here, These are the dumplings, the mandu. These are the rice cakes, okay? The white disc, that's the tteok. So tteok, mandu, guk is the broth. Guk means broth. So you can see this is just such a beautiful dish to make for Lunar New Year's. This is what we eat on Lunar New Year's in my family, many Korean families. This is what they prepare for Lunar New Year's. So hopefully you have enjoyed following along while I made this dish for Lunar New Year's. Let's see. I'm going to give this a try, but I'm going to have to try and move everything out of the way without breaking something. So let's see if I can do that. Can you, babe, help me here and just move some of the things out of the way so I can push this out of view? Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so just FYI, my lives are not as haphazard and all over the place as this one clearly was. Normally, my lives are a little bit more prepared and a little bit more polished. I apologize for that, but as some of you may know from the posts on the community page, this is sort of like an ad hoc impromptu event that I wanted to do in light of what happened last night in Monterey Park, which is a suburb here in the SoCal area during a Lunar New Year celebration. Before we do that, I can't really eat this without kimchi. That is my favorite way to eat tteokguk is with some kimchi. So let's slice up a little bit of kimchi to go along with this, shall we? So this is my homemade kimchi. And as you can see, I keep it whole pretty much until it's time for me to eat it. And then what I do is I just take it out, put it on a separate cutting board, okay? It's kind of important. Put it on a separate cutting board. Don't use the same cutting board that you might otherwise use because this stuff has a tendency to stain whatever it is that you're using, your cutting board, okay? And then we're just going to cut it up. I love these end pieces, so I'm just going to cut up like that, okay? And then I'm going to take what I haven't used, and I'm just going to stick it back into my mason jar, just like that. Perfect. Close this up. It smells so amazing, can I just say? Put this over here. I'm going to wipe down any red parts so they don't stain. Okay. And I will put it in a nice little banchan bowl. That's what I like to call this. Bowl for your banchan. In Korean, banchan means like side dishes. I'm going to do that. Hopefully you guys can see just how beautiful, look at how beautiful this kimchi looks. That's another reason I like to keep it whole in my jar and then cut it up right before I use it, because then you just get these lovely layers of kimchi. It's just, and it's so beautiful when you serve it like this. I feel like I'm in a royal palace, you know, or like a restaurant getting like their fresh kimchi. It looks so good. So we are done with that. I'm just going to stick this in, all this stuff in my sink here. Okay. And that way you guys can see exactly what I see on my kind of Lunar New Year's tabletop. This is pretty much how I would eat on Lunar New Year's. Or, you know, regular New Year's, you know, on January 1st, according to the Western calendar. I mean, we pretty much eat tteokguk anytime there's a word New Year's attached to the day, whether it's Lunar New Year's, regular New Year's, this is what we're going to eat. So let's give this a try. I just want to try this. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is so good. Those rice cakes are still like super nice and chewy. Oh, so good. Chewy, but like full of flavor because we added that sesame oil at the very beginning. This is the way that I craft my perfect spoonful. A little bit of rice cake, a little bit of broth, and then I'm going to add, of course, some kimchi, just like that. Okay, let's see. So good. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. I'm just going to get a little bit of dumpling now. Got some dumpling. Again, some kimchi. There we go. That is delicious. I want to thank every single person who joined for this live today. I also want to thank you all for your patience as we dealt with some technical issues. Promise I will never use this camera again for our top-down view. You will have a crystal clear, lovely, focused view for all of our future lives. I want to give a special thanks and shout out to everyone who donated to the AAJC as part of this fundraising event. That makes me very happy to know that my community is showing up and supporting at a time when the AAPI community might be struggling a little bit with celebrating this Lunar New Year's. I love this dish. I hope you have a chance to make it. Once this live is wrapped up, I'll include a link to the recipe for this so that you can make it yourself. It doesn't have to just be on Lunar New Year's. You can make it the day after Lunar New Year's. You can make it in the middle of July if that's what you're craving. You can make it in the middle of fall. Whenever you want, just a delicious, hearty soup. This is your go-to. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful Lunar New Year's today. Okay? Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye. Oh, you guys.